What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean7904. If you want to get all technical, 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock on the dot on the East Coast, which means it's the start of Grinders Live. Myself, Head Chopper, two-time millionaire winner, talking some NBA DFS nonstop, 2 hours, right up to the gun. We got crunch time coming in at around 6:15. By the way, did you see who's coming in for crunch time today? Noto for crunch time. Yeah, dusted off Noto. Putting him to work. I think he's actually on the show with me tomorrow with beer. I was taking a peek at the schedule. You guys know Noto from golf and all sorts of things. A lot of the articles, grind down stuff, the core plays. Kyle Murray also will be joining, and of course Roth going down there. The three of them around 6:15 or so, taking you guys all the way up to lock. But for now, you got myself and Chop on a Fleet Thursday. We'll go ahead and we'll drop the first clue right out the gate, just because it's probably not going to help you. Just get this one out of the way. It is a Fleet Thursday. Tell me what athlete I'm talking about to get yourself a week free of RG Premium. If you're the first person to tell me, one guess per clue drop. The clue drop is retired, so it's a retired athlete. That's what you got to work with. And give me the answer in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. I'll be the first person to tell me what athlete I'm talking about. And you get a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. All right. Chop, how are things? How we doing on a Thursday?
It's fine. Dean, can I ask a question about the clue?
Yeah, sure.
And, if I'm overstepping here and it's too much.
You ruined it the other day. You kind of ruined it the other day.
If it's too much, then just don't even answer. But
yeah.
You say retired.
Poker face.
Is this athlete a human being, or could it be
like a horse? Maybe. Yeah. I like that. That's where your brain goes. It's well, I mean, if you're asking me if a horse that has run like in the Triple Crown or something like that was Secretariat an athlete, yes, Secretariat was an athlete. So a horse that Triple Crown winner, something like that, would fall under the guidelines of athlete. Yes.
Okay. Well, is today's answer of an athlete, is that a human being or a non-human?
That I'm not going to answer.
Golly, Dean, come on, man. At least narrow it down between species.
Well, maybe the next clue is like alien, or maybe that's the next clue. You never really know. But four legs might be the next clue for all you know. But that's the first clue. It's not supposed to be the very. I'll tell you what, Chop. I'll answer that question after clue number 4 if you're still struggling. How about that? Does that work for you? Is that a good compromise?
Sure, I guess. I mean, with clues like retired, I'll be here all day trying to guess this one.
Well, you just knock out a bunch of, it's like you're kind of whittling it down. If you're thinking, hey, maybe it's Anthony Davis, it's not Anthony Davis because he's not retired. He's playing basketball tonight. Well, speaking of Anthony Davis, I don't know why he popped in my head. Did you happen to see, the new building there in LA? They're trying to get like a college atmosphere with the Clippers. So like there's like no TVs in the building. Like they want you inside.
Yeah.
They want you inside and like on top of the court. And they have the wall there. They had a giant picture when he was shooting free throws. He had a giant picture of his head and like some clippers like shaving his brow. It was very, very college atmosphere. Like maybe producer Steve can find that. I don't know. It's possible. It's probably
Speaking
out there.
Of free throws.
Oh boy.
Did you catch Darius Garland last night?
I had one live lineup last night, and it had 5% Amen Thompson, who I wrote up. I wrote 2 players. Shout out to me. Amen was one of them. He was smashing, and Jared Allen. And that was the lineup that could have actually done some things. And Darius Garland, Cleveland's down 2, and he gets fouled on a 3-point shot. He's a 90% free throw shooter. So I'm like, okay, this game's probably over. He's going to make all 3. He's a professional basketball player. He doesn't miss. He misses the first one. I was like, oh, this is sweet. Now he's going to make the next 2. Of course. Why wouldn't he make the next 2? Like he misses 2 out of 3. He's a 90% free throw shooter. And they lost by 1, and we didn't get overtime. That's how that goes. But yeah, shout out to your Rockets.
Good game, fun game. And I saw you mentioned Alien earlier in the show. Could be an alien. Speaking of aliens,
it could be aliens. Wembanyama, isn't that his nickname?
Yes. Did you see him today? He's already played a game today.
He dropped 30 and 10, and they put up a 140. They put up
the most
140.
predictable outcome probably that you could have of anything today, sports related. I mean, him playing in France, dropping a big game. Like,
Yeah, they're going to run it back in a couple of days. We'll see if the same thing
in
happens.
France.
Well, yeah, they flew out there. They flew all the way out there. So they're going to play 2 games.
They're going to play multiple games.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is good. This is good stuff. All right.
How does he top that game, though? I mean, they put 140 on Indiana.
What did he end up with? You know what's crazy is I had a prop parlay, and I thought I was drawing dead in the first 5 minutes of the game because I had under Halliburton rebounds 3.5. He grabs 2 right out the gate. Right, sweet. This is dead already. Guess what Halliburton ended at?
2?
He ended at those 2 rebounds.
That's amazing.
Had Wemby over rebounds.
I don't think he got there. Did he get there?
He had 11. He missed it by 1.5, unfortunately. So he does all that work and doesn't get the rebounds for me, but that happens. No big deal. I thought
Lord King Guru in the chat had under 29 points. Did not buy the Wemby narrative. I didn't watch. I don't know when he got the 30th point, but that could have been brutal if it was like the last second or so. Well, it could have been the last second. They won by 30, so I imagine he wasn't out there in the court for the entirety of the fourth quarter. Chop, we should mention 7:30 scheduled time for Miami Milwaukee. It's now 8:30. DraftKings has figured that out, and it has Miami Milwaukee playing 8:30. Milwaukee had a hard time getting out of New Orleans last night, which they were ice skating in Bourbon Street. All the snow. So yeah, Milwaukee, their game got canceled. And the tricky part as far as getting back travel wise and all that. But FanDuel currently still has it. I know you're sitting down. It still has 7:30, which to me suggests like you're supposed to lock those players an hour before the game actually starts, unless something changes. Just be aware of this. Miami Milwaukee is not starting until 8:30 officially. So there you go. Just throwing that out there. A lot of late games, a lot of teams in the back half go back-to-back. I think it's 7 in total. Atlanta, Dallas, OKC, Sacramento, Golden State, Boston, and the Clippers. Boston is playing its 5th in 7. The Clippers are playing their 4th in 5. It's really, I mean, the schedule. We got a lot of news out there, but there's some things that could drop that wouldn't surprise me. But, yeah, a lot of back-to-back stuff is kind of the point here. Only one team on the front end, that's Portland. We'll talk about them early. And there's a lot of questionable stuff, unless I missed an update. But it's Portland, and a lot of questionable stuff is always going to be following them. But we'll know. If we don't know, crunch time will know. By the way, shout out to the Braves who signed Jurgensen Profar. So there you go. Profar going to Atlanta. And apparently the Polar Bear might go up north, might go to Toronto. I don't know if you've seen that. That's what the rumors are.
Wow, Toronto has improved quite a bit in the offseason.
Yeah, all producers' teams probably going to be furious about this. Yeah, I guess what's Cohen he's not going to pay for Alonso. I'm not really sure what the money is out there, but that seems to be the likely scenario at this point. Yeah, Toronto also added Santander? Is that how they added? Yeah. So a couple of big bats. Well, not official with Alonso, but like they're saying it seems to be on its way. Yeah, the Mets. Let's see. Oh, they're going to sign Vlad next year, so it's all good. Yeah, that's possible as well. And maybe that's what Alonso sort of is like a Vlad replacement. 63 days, something like that, Chop? 63 days. You excited for the baseball?
Baseball has surpassed NBA as a DFS sport. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
You're saying for you personally?
Yeah, it's for me personally, for sure. Now, some people like the NBA style. I'm not. If I was a younger guy, maybe. Well, I'm past it, man. I'm too old for all that.
It's tricky because it's always like you always miss what's not here. It's like, oh man, I can't wait for baseball. But 5 months into the baseball season, you're like, oh my god, can we get some basketball? Can we get some basketball already? But yeah, I'm looking forward to baseball for sure. And I'm not. I enjoy them both. It's like I don't want to say equally and be like answer politically, but I like them both. I do enjoy them both. It depends on the day, I suppose. I don't like when it's a big old mess and, like you said, you got to be latched to your laptop all day. Tim is saying in chat, baseball so much better. Maybe that's today's poll question. which is better? Which do you enjoy playing more? Is that the question, Chop? Which do you enjoy playing more? Baseball or basketball? Basketball probably has an edge in this show because it's a basketball show.
Why not list all four sports? All four
football
big sports.
It's going to take because everybody's going to say football because that's
okay.
That's the number one sport, right?
Okay. Limit it to just two then.
We'll leave it to Steve. Big picture wise, Franz Wagner officially back. All right, we got Franz officially in for Orlando. That is the first game as well. Okay, other stuff we're monitoring. We got a midday downgrade on Steph Curry. I think it was injury management, load management, basically. They're one of those teams that are in the back half of a back-to-back. We saw Looney got sick last night and just like tapped out at some point, but I guess he's fine because he's not on the injury report now. But he wasn't on the injury report last night either. So, Golden State, they don't care. Let's see. What else? Draymond is still out, obviously. Kuminga's still out. The Clippers stuff, basically everybody's back. Nobody was in last night. Everybody's back tonight except Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn is out. But with everybody back, he doesn't really matter, obviously. Dosunmu probably comes back tonight. He's questionable. Kobe White probably not, but they're both officially questionable. And they're all later games. So that's kind of why the slate is kind of split a little bit. We have Boston Lakers. I believe that's a national TV game as well. A TNT, I want to say. Boston did update, and it is their 5th game in 7 nights, but it appears, I think they're all going to play. At least that's where we're at right now. They did have some updates, and their injury report is nobody of note. That's going to be out. Dallas, also the back half of back-to-back. Everybody out again, except, Kyrie's still in, but like Lively, Marshall, Powell, Klay Thompson, Jaden Hardy. Of course, Luka's still out as well. Anything you got big picture-wise? Atlanta, another team back half of back-to-back. I thought you might get something with Jalen Johnson or possibly Trae Young, but they're both officially probable. Big one is Capella. Capella's out. So was
glossing over the big stuff. Did you mention Jimmy Butler?
I don't want to talk about it. Yes. He apparently missed the plane again. It's just a mess. And I don't know how this ends. I don't know who's trading for him. There's
some teams, Dean.
I don't know who's giving anything up for him, like a value.
Phoenix that's why they're stockpiling some first rounders.
Well, we'll take some picks. We don't want Beal is the point. Nobody wants Beal.
Phoenix is stockpiling some first rounders for you, man. They want Jimmy buckets.
Yeah. We'll see. But Superman. We got Superman. That's all that matters. Kalo Air is he's thriving. I did watch a good chunk of that last game for Miami. They lost at home to Portland, which is thoroughly embarrassing. But it was strange. If you're looking at the box score, you're trying to figure out why was Jimmy not in? Why was Bam not in? It was one of those deals where the second unit plays really well in a blowout, and they kind of make this big comeback. So you just don't change the lineup. Like Pelle Larson was out there too. I wouldn't expect that going forward. But if you're looking at the box score, it's that looks weird. What was Miami doing? Their second unit was just playing really well, and that's why Bam only played 22 minutes. Butler didn't play a lot, although I don't know. Bam, I can get put him back in, but Butler, it's not great. I like Butler, I do, but he's testing my fandom. He's a fun player, but I also think that somebody should tell him he's 36, and it's not the craziest thing. Hey, maybe you're not worth $50 million anymore. Future performance is more important than past performance. Maybe it's 30.
You can always have a little soft spot in your heart for a player, but you always got to rep the team first. It's got to be team first as a fan. It's always got to be team first, man. So that's that. So yeah, and you also, I think you glossed over Isaiah Joe not being out.
I'm sorry. I should have started the show with Isaiah Joe.
I think that's sneaky big news, Dean.
I thought there was a chance we might lose SGA today.
We still might.
Yeah. Yesterday, I watched a good chunk of that game too. Good Lord. 50 burger, 5 stocks. We talked about the stocks yesterday. Always bet those stock guys against the Jazz. The Jazz give up the most opponent steals, the most opponent blocks. He got there. I think he had 3 and 2. Yeah, just incredible. Second best player in the league, third best player in the league. I don't know how. Easily top 5. It's a good conversation at least. I think it's Joker, Giannis, SGA. I think that's. I'm missing somebody. I'm not sure. Tell me in the chat if I miss who am I missing, Chop? Those are the 3 best players in the league, right? Think so?
Man, yeah, it'd be hard to think of anybody that's better than those 3 guys right now. So yeah, it's fine. I agree with you. I'll let you have it.
Derek is saying Embiid. That's not.
Oh, come on, Derek. Embiid might be Embiid. Man, you know what? A couple years ago, I would have said Luka as a guy
ahead of Luka.
Yeah, as a guy that I would have drafted in a redraft for the entire league, number 1 overall on my franchise to start it out, Luka would have been right there. Not anymore. Now he's still good. He's still great. But,
he's still really good. Yeah.
Yeah, but just not right now for me. He's not that guy. Embiid might very well be washed. He really might be. The injuries might. Remember, he came into the NBA and had to sit out a whole year because of his back before he even played a game. He came in injured.
Well, that was kind of in part tanking too, right? I wasn't sure if he could. Yeah, but
no, he was hurt. He was hurt in college. He's a legitimate walking injury, so he might be cooked, man.
What did they have, like a 4-year run, basically? I guess.
Well, yeah, something like it. All ended when I don't know what happened to Ben Simmons. I'll say it like 1 minute he is a legitimate 5x5 threat, on the court, plays defense. He can handle that's a big deal when you're 6'10" and you can actually play point guard because your handles are that good. It creates he's got all this going, and then he misses a couple layups and free throws in the playoffs, and his confidence just vanishes. That was the downfall, the start of it right there. I don't know what happened, but Simmons was the start of it, unfortunately for Philly fans.
Eric is saying Steph Curry is better than Luka. I don't know now. Probably not now. A couple of years ago, last year maybe. Yeah.
Curry's he's almost there. He's almost like 40, I think.
I don't think he's almost 40.
You have to look it up, Dean. I think he's probably about 38, 37. Like he came into the league as an older guy out of college.
34, 35, right?
No way, man. He's older than that.
He's 36. Okay, he's 36.
There you go, 36.
And 37 in March. Okay. All right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they might rest him tonight. He's getting old for sure.
Are they going to trade him? They might trade Curry, man. No, they'll never trade Curry, right? He means too much to the franchise. I did see a proposed trade with Draymond Green today, though.
I mean, if I was the Warriors and I can improve my situation going forward, they're not going anywhere this year. I would have if you could do something to help the future out. Yeah, of course I would do it, but I'm also not tied to the franchise and I'll have to answer to the fans and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know what the situation would be. Everything's case by case. But yeah, if you can move Draymond or if you can move Steph. I mean, I also heard trying to get Anthony Davis, try to improve the team, which is another.
Oh, there you go.
But it's all 90% of it's all nonsense, right? It's just for conversations and.
Oh yeah, it ain't gonna happen. But I mean, it's valid, and the Lakers should also be looking to break these guys up and improve their future because the present is cooked and there is no future as currently constructed. So they're another team that really needs to see.
What do you do? LeBron's 40 and
Well, somebody would want to take Anthony Davis. Somebody would want to take Davis, man. Somebody out there would give up a slew of draft pick. Like if Rudy Gobert can get 5 first rounders,
a Şengün and some picks.
I'd take Davis in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah.
He's a walking injury too, but still he's got something. Still he's got a little something left in him. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody should be looking to improve their situation if you're just on a downward spiral. So I don't know, Dean, but all I do know is that my Dallas Cowboys are set to hire up-and-coming Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach potentially. So
it's not beyond. I haven't been following this.
I'm excited.
Another Schottenheimer? Great.
Crazy.
All right, let's talk about the slate. First game, only game. It's only one game at 7 o'clock tonight. It is the Blazers taking on the Magic. It's tricky here, right? Because we don't know about DeAndre Ayton. He's questionable. He's got a knee. Kamara, he's an illness, so he's questionable. Chris Murray's questionable, and Anthony Simons is questionable. We know Klingon, the other big man, is out as well. Orlando, Cole Anthony, he had the fish, so he's questionable. Either way, I think he's just not playable with Wagner coming back tonight. Franz, we just saw, is back. Jalen Suggs, of course, still out. Isaac is another ill player who's questionable, and Gary Harris has a hamstring. It's a tricky one, Chop, right? Because a lot of stuff up in the air here, but the best you can do as far as Orlando and Portland, good matchup for Orlando. We saw Banchero get the 31 minutes last time. But Wagner coming back, but is he going to be fully back? He's been conditioning for a while. 25 minutes we're giving him, which is one of those deals where it's probably not enough to roster him. I want to say definitely, but yeah, basically there's no chance I'm rostering Franz Wagner, but he also eats off the other players to some degree. Like I said, Cole Anthony will take a step back as well if he goes. Wendell Carter still looks all right, but I might just throw this game out if the Portland guys play. And even if the Portland guys don't play, their prices have been kind of baked up where I don't think anybody's going to jump off the page for Portland. And I don't really want to pick on Orlando's defense. I'm trying to find a way to get past this game without playing anybody. I only play a few lineups. But I do like Banchero. That's my favorite player in the Magic, probably the only one I'm rostering. Possibly Carter, but unlikely because I like Ware and I like Joker if I have the money. And, of course, Okongwu for center as well. Where are you at as far as Portland and Orlando?
Not particularly excited about it either. I think for sure you can skip this game if that's part of a strategy you have. Portland just in general against Orlando's defense probably not going to be a good bet right there. So I don't think I want that one. And then Orlando, the whole thing with Franz coming back, there's no way I don't think I could play Franz at 8,300 on DraftKings because you just don't know.
No.
You just don't know what the minutes are going to look like. It can't be that good.
He's $7K on FanDuel. If you are tempted to play him, I think it's – but I'm not saying to do it. Yeah, but if you are, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, so I can't play Franz, but what he does come back and do in his 20 or 25 minutes is absolutely destroy about 3 or 4 guys who could have been possibly in play. Maybe, and probably not, though. But it destroys everybody else except for Banchero. And, it's Portland and Orlando's at home. They're -8. This could be a blowout by the end of the third quarter, and Banchero doesn't even get any last rotation in the fourth quarter. So if you want to skip this game, by all means, I think it's a very, very viable strategy.
Yeah, I think that's my plan. Or just plug in Banchero possibly. We're giving him 32 minutes. Again, 31 last time. Like you said, there's some of a threat of a blowout, especially if Portland starts losing some guys. But again, even if they lose those guys, like Denny Avdia, those guys are already priced up. Grant, they're already priced up to some degree where even if they happen to see Simons and Ayton sit out, I'm not necessarily enthralled. Let's move on, Chop. Before we do that, I'll give you a second clue. Something you might actually be able to work with. Retired and then Ring. Ring is the second clue. So feel free to answer in our private chats for those hanging out on YouTube, hanging out, listening, jump in our Discord. Give me the answer to today's Fleet Thursday. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium. You're the first person to tell me what athlete we're talking about. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Most of our channels are free. There are some paid Discord channels. Just need a standard RG account, and you can fire off your answer. One guess per clue drop. I'm curious. I'm just checking now. I'm curious what kind of clues we had. Who people guessed on retired? Ichiro, Allen Iverson, Billy Wagner, Don Mattingly. Just those guys are all retired. Just a bunch of retired dudes. Peyton Manning. But there you go. We have some guesses coming in. Chop, it is not Secretariat. I do appreciate. I do appreciate you staying with the bit. You know what, Chop? I'm going to help you out. It's not a horse. It's not any horse.
Well, now I know it's not a horse.
Well, it could have been Whirlwind for all you know.
Secretary is the only one that you would have put there.
Too chalky, Secretariat. All right. Seabiscuit. Toronto takes on Atlanta. 237 is a total, so it's high. Fairly tight, right? Fairly tight. Atlanta is a 6-point favorite here. Checking out the injury report as far as Toronto and Atlanta. Agbaji's questionable. Quickly is still out, of course, for Toronto. Capella's the big one. Capella's got a knee, so he's not playing basketball tonight. Both probable, Jalen Johnson and Trae Young. Nothing new with Ricochet. Ricochet still out, as is Larry Nance. We have a very chalky Okongwu. We saw him kind of dethrone Capella last 3 or 4 games or so. Capella was actually playing pretty well last night and probably outplayed Okongwu. And, that's going to bounce back and forth all season long. Okongwu was starting anyway. Maybe we get some backup 5 from Barlow's, possibly some backup 5 from Johnson. But I think we're giving Okongwu 30-plus minutes here, which is something you really can't project when Capella's lurking. Yeah, we're giving him 30 on the dot. And the matchup against Toronto is really good. The price doesn't really reflect that, especially on DK where he's 5'6". We currently have 42% ownership there, Chop, on DK. You can roster 2 centers, obviously. He's also power forward eligible on FanDuel, which is certainly useful. How do you feel about chalky? FanDuel, the price is a little bit tougher, a little bit more restricting, but still really good. He's 6'4" over there, but everybody's a little bit more baked up. Oh my God, I cannot believe we got a winner. We do have a winner. Unbelievable. We have a winner already. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. Unbelievable. I thought I was being...
Is it John Elway?
It's not John Elway. Why would it be John Elway? Oh, because it's a horse reference. Is that what you're doing?
Whoa. Whoa, I didn't say that.
Bronco. All right. Chop. Atlanta, Toronto, what do you got?
Okay, let's start off with Atlanta. This is going to be a good game. Obviously, a good game environment. Trae Young, did you know his assist tonight? His assist prop tonight is 10.5. He's the only guy in double digits like that. That's what he's doing this year. He's dishing the ball really well. So, he's making the offense a little bit better. So I think he's in play there for a double-double. You never know. Johnson's fine. You mentioned Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, all good players. If you're going to twist my arm and say who might be the best GPP play, it might be DeAndre Hunter. I always say that in certain matchups because he will shoot a volume of 3-pointers, and this is a fairly decent 3-point matchup for him. So you might get that. And he gets that number one defense versus archetype tonight, and I think that's kind of baked into it right there. So, these guys are all really good for the Atlanta side of it. I can see playing several of these guys.
You talk about the defense versus archetype, not to cut you off. Like Scotty Barnes, third best versatile forwards. Okongwu, second best for post bigs. RJ Barrett, second best for scoring wings, and that goes the same for Grady Dick as well. Just a good environment altogether. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I figure since you're on it, feel free to continue.
Barnes, I was going to mention, and then to the Toronto side, Barnes is always good. You could do that. RJ Barrett looks pretty decent tonight. RJ Barrett is, he can put his head down and get to the paint and draw fouls, and so Atlanta is perfectly fine with giving up fouls to and sending you to the line. So that's good for him. I just think at the end of the day, Dean, when you look back on this, so in GPPs, in cash games, guys who take volume 3-point shots, not cash game plays because they can always go ice cold, and it's just not a way you want to get there. You want a guy who's going to fill the stat sheet in multiple areas to balance things out. But in GPPs, you can take the jump shooters, the 3-point shooters. And if they get hot, boom, you're in the mix. So I think there's a chance we look back at this tonight at the end of the night and go, you needed some dick. You needed some dick, man. At the end of the day, we've got the best 3-point shooting matchup on the board.
You paused for effect there. I appreciate that.
No, what? No, I'm just saying against a very prolific 3-point shooter. So, seems like a recipe. Dick seems like a recipe for Oh, we didn't need that. Now that's just going overboard.
That's going over the line.
The sound effect is overboard, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's in play too, as a cheapie. Talking about the opponent, Atlanta's given up the third most made threes. That has shuffled a little bit. They've fallen back a little bit. They've subdued the 3-point lineup to some degree, but Utah and Washington have surpassed them. We'll talk about Washington later on. Anything else here, Chop? This is my favorite game, or one of my favorite games as far as game stacking. Jalen Johnson, love him, especially on FanDuel where he's 8-2, 8-6 on DK. You know the old deal. If you're cheaper in FanDuel than you are in DK, you're probably a good price, and the spot is really good here against Toronto. Always willing to play Dyson Daniels, especially if you get him going as far as stocks. That's how you get the ceiling. Trey, it's fine. I don't know if I'm getting the Trey. You talk about his assists. He's got to get that double-double with like 14 or 15 assists and hit a bunch of threes, but he can do that as well. I don't hate Pirtle. I like Barnes. Barnes probably my favorite play on Toronto. Barnes and two of like Okongwu and Johnson probably where I'm starting. And you talked me into it, Chop. I don't hate Dick either. I'm fine with Grady.
Okay.
As a cheapie to kind of make stuff work if you want to make a little game stack. But this is one of my favorite games on the board. A little bit cautious of back-to-back for Atlanta, as far as how much they're going to push them, but it is what it is. There's a lot of teams in the back half of a back-to-back, like we said, 7 in total. Atlanta just being one of those teams. Anything else of note as far as Toronto and Atlanta?
No, but we're seeing news come across that DeAndre Ayton is out, so I don't know if that goes. Let me check real quick.
I don't know how much that's going to matter. They're saying Robert Williams is going to start. That's new.
Okay, that would be pretty good.
That's interesting.
It's not a great matchup, but for him, it's not a bad matchup because there's going to be a lot of bricked shots and opportunities at rebounds and things like that, things that he does well. So Robert Williams might not be a terrible play.
Is he still $3K?
It's a great question. I can look it up. He's $3,200.
That's too much. Oh,
what? He's $200.
No, I'm just thinking. He's power forward eligible on DK. That could be interesting. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't think it's a bad play.
At 3-2 power forward, how many minutes? Because Klingon's out as well. It's a bad matchup versus Orlando. Although Bataze is out, so one of their better defenders. He's still dealing with I think he's got the head issue. I'm curious where they're going to project Williams. Because we've seen him put up like 40 spots. This isn't the spot to do it necessarily, and you don't need 40. But if you project him for, 22 minutes as a starter, which seems kind of conservative, not my job. I'm curious where they're going to put him at. I bet they put him at least 20, and 20 should get there.
He just started 2 games ago and got his 20 minutes. So I think 20 is barring foul trouble, I think 20 is a pretty safe bet for him. And like I said, I think unlike DeAndre Ayton, who would have to score to get you there fantasy-wise, Robert Williams doesn't have to do that. So it's not like the bad matchup on defense really pertains to him. It actually helps him, I think. So I don't know. Not bad. I'm going to keep it in mind.
Okay. He's a good junk man around the rim, put back stuff. Obviously a good hustle guy, good board guy. Maybe is this the showcase game? You probably wouldn't want to showcase him against Orlando per se, but theoretically he's going to move at some point. They have to get him off this team. I don't know what he is now as an asset at this point, but yeah. And who's looking for, I guess, a backup 5? That's
a backup rim protector, Dean. I know a couple of teams who.
What team wants this? What team needs it?
Ime Udoka wants his old Boston Celtic guy.
Steven Adams. You could kick him there.
Either Adams or Jock Landale's got to go for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I could see Houston. Yeah, I could see Houston. All right. That is interesting though. I'm really curious. He's going to hit at power forward. At forward, he's going to hit stuff even if he's projected for 20 minutes. By the way, Banchero is not Banchero. Wagner is officially starting for Orlando. Banchero is too, but the one that I was curious about. They're saying Bankero will play between 30 and 32 minutes per Coach Mosley. And their starting lineup is KCP, Black, Wagner, Bankero, and WCJ. Okay. Anything else as far as Atlanta and Toronto, or we're moving on? I got the point. Dallas, OKC, 8 o'clock start, 2:23 is the total OKC. Both these teams playing the back half of back-to-back. Dallas also traveling. The Thunder not traveling. They played a home game last night. They're big-time favorites once again, 12-point favorites to get all precise. Basically the same setup for Dallas, right, as far as who's in and who's out. Once again, no Luka, no Hardy, no Lively, who might be done for the regular season. Najee Marshall's out, Powell's out, Klay Thompson's out. OKC, again, nothing new. I'm on alert. I'm on alert for OKC. But, Hartenstein's out, Holmgren's out. Isaiah Joe, like you announced at the top of the show, buried the lead on that one. He's out. And then Mitchell's out as well. Are we running back SGA? Like, he's not going to play 38 minutes again, I wouldn't think. He was incredible last night. Spectacular. And then there's Prosper drew the start for Dallas. I'll tell you, Williams looks like a better play than Prosper. If we're just going to he was hitting lineups before. Something tells me Williams will project better than Prosper. We're assuming he's going to start once again for Dallas. He did not close. He wasn't especially good. But, where do you want to start as far as Dallas and the Thunder? Kyrie played a lot of minutes last night and travel, and we know his history with, a lot of times big usage, but they also can get blown out. Tough matchup here in OKC.
Oh, man, where to start? I don't even know. Oklahoma City, like you said, we'll keep our eyes on the news here to see if any of these guys sit out, besides Isaiah Joe. But the Isaiah Joe thing is interesting. It's just interesting to me because it always seems like one of the Oklahoma City, this 4 or 5 man, this little group of guys. One of those guys always goes off and exceeds value by a wide margin in every single game, it seems like. And Isaiah Joe is one of those guys that does it every once in a while. Taking him out kind of lessens that field and increases the likelihood that somebody crushes their price tag tonight in that little group. So I got my eyes open on keeping one of those guys in each lineup I build tonight, maybe, but I've only built in 3, so it's not like 150, but I think it's interesting. But, the stars in the game, we'll see if they rest. If not, they're in play. It's a pretty good game against Dallas, assuming Kyrie Irving plays here and Dallas can keep this thing close, which is a big assumption because Dallas kind of stinks and OKC is very good. On the flip side, can't play Irving. That's a high price tag. I don't want to play him like you said. Everything about him. PJ Washington, theoretically, should be a pretty decent matchup for him. Lack of rebounding on that side, on the Oklahoma City side, and all that other good stuff. Daniel Gafford's the one that intrigues me. He got a price bump, but I still don't think it's enough, Dean. I still don't think it's enough. What is he? He's coming. Didn't he drop a 70 burger the other day? Yeah, he did. Oddly enough, what stood out to me, Dean, is it's not the Bible, okay? It's not the Bible, but he is projected at a 15-10 double-double as a projection. That's pretty awesome for 6,500. If that's because you can exceed that and grab the double-double bonus. And not to mention his rim protection gives you a chance at some blocks too. That's pretty good for that price tag. So he's the most intriguing to me in this whole game is Gafford, a guy who I think 3 lineups I'm running, he probably might be on 2 of the 3. So that puts me well over the field on him.
You like it more than Okongwu when you figured $1 for $1? He's like 1K cheap.
I think so too. I think so. I think a Gafford. Okay. I think Gafford's the guy. That's a good one.
And more than where?
What's the where is the slipper's gonna fall off of where at some point. I mean, he's a good player. He's interesting. He does have that type of upside, but he's not gonna sustain this for a whole year. And I've watched him. I know how good he can be, but
I've watched too.
It's not gonna. Yeah, I think he's really good. I just don't think it's gonna last like this for a whole lot longer. So I'm more likely to play Gafford than where. And the Okongwu thing is interesting. I don't know. I'd have to check the prices out on FanDuel because that's where I'll be playing tonight.
He's
so
6'5" over there. Okongwu's a better play on DK than he is on FanDuel. He's a good play both spots.
Then it would be Gafford because I'm on FanDuel tonight. But I think he's interesting. Now, the other guys, Dinwiddie, Grimes, I'll pass.
Yeah. I mean, Grimes probably going to be playing a ton of minutes once again, I assume. We currently have him projected for 32. Prosper 26. If this number holds, and I have no idea if it is, and obviously still some more pieces to fall, we have SGA at 5% right now on DK. Like, that's outrageous. You can't assume he's going to duplicate what he did last night, but that seems too low for making a bunch of lineups. I would make sure to get higher than 5% if that holds up. I think we just updated the Portland stuff. What do you got, Chop?
He has just an absolute sublime track record against Kyrie and Luka too as defenders for Dallas. Like when they play each other, like he does what he wants in this matchup.
It's a nice use of sublime, Chop. And just watching him get his shots is just, he's so special. It's
crazy. How did the Clippers trade this guy? What were the Clippers thinking? They could have been good right now, man. Just traded him away, man.
And 3 first-round picks too, right? Was it 3 first-rounders and SGA? Might have been somebody else involved for Paul George. I mean, obviously we didn't know. Nobody knew he was going to turn to this.
Imagine you just signed Kawhi that night and you don't pull the trigger on Paul George. You just sign Kawhi and then you end up with 2 MVPs on the same roster, basically.
We did get an update, by the way, in projections. Where is Williams? I'm going to say 20, 21 minutes. Let's see where they're putting him at. 20. They're putting him at 20 minutes, and okay, not a great projection. I'm surprised. Right around 18 points, which is he that bad this year? Fantasy points per minute historically, he's been 1.12 for the season, so it doesn't really math out unless they're waiting the Orlando matchup and giving him a hit on that. That's interesting. I think I like him more. I would take over as a median projection, 18 fantasy points. But also, what happens if you trust the Blazers rotations? It usually doesn't go well. Chop, we did get a winner for Fleet Thursday, which is amazing. I don't know how we did, but I thought I was being cute, and it didn't work out. But I'll let you play it out, and those on YouTube. Getting your reps. Award is the third clue. So retired ring award. Those are our first 3 clues. I'll drop another one soon. But yeah, have fun with that. Again, also not a horse or a 4-legged being or an alien.
It's not going to be this obvious, but I'll say Kobe.
No. It's not Kobe. Okay. Let's shout out the winner. If you really want to know, if you want to cheat, Jay Swift got it correct. So shout out to Jay Swift. Tell me why you guessed. Well, I think I know why you guessed it, but and you just threw a dart and you got lucky, but you were smart with your guess. Okay. 8:30 again. Miami, Milwaukee. 8:30 start. 2:26. It's starting an hour after it was originally scheduled. Choppy, aware of that on FanDuel as well. Just if you're playing on FanDuel, everybody else, if you're playing on FanDuel, because last I saw they did not change their time, and if you're looking to like mess with lineups, 8 o'clock, and Miami and the Bucks might already be locked unless they figured it out. I don't know. Can't be sure of that. The Bucks are 7-point favorites. They're flying back, and the reason why they're flying back from New Orleans, and it was tricky getting out of there. You mentioned Jimmy Butler, of course, suspended once again. Will he play for Miami? It's only 2-game suspension. Is he going to come back once? What color shoes is he going to wear then? I don't know if you saw he was wearing Phoenix Suns shoes, which is pretty funny. I thought that was a funny troll, but I know some of my Heat fan friends didn't appreciate it, but it just made me laugh. Yeah. All right. So who's in, who's out for this one? Butler, Hero's back. He's good to go with his groin. Josh Richardson, Drew Smith, of course, they're out. Giannis officially probable. He's always in the injury report, basically. They did get AJ Green out. He's not feeling well, and he's got a quad. Chris Middleton, good to go. So Milwaukee pretty clean. And then Kel'el Ware, we assume he's going to be in the starting lineup for the foreseeable future. I know Spo is always rug pulling somebody and trying to figure out, what to do with these nonsense pieces and try to get the right combination. But I imagine Ware is solidified for a while, at least going forward, because, once you give him this, he's taken advantage of it. He's been good. And even if he's struggling, I would imagine his minutes are not as fragile as, Jaime Jaquez or Jovic or those kind of guys. Haywood Highsmith, that's a guy who's got fragile minutes these days. Where are you at as far as Miami and Milwaukee?
Doesn't seem like it's an excitable game here. I mean, Giannis is always in play. Lillard's fine. Nobody else really does anything when Middleton's healthy and Lopez and Portis are in the lineup or active. They just kind of cancel each other out, all of them. So typically Milwaukee these days is in most matchups is Giannis or nobody. So he's on the board. But honestly, like with the other star players on the slate, I just don't know that I'll get to Giannis. He's a good player and he consistently delivers really high ceiling games, but the ultimate ceiling he has isn't higher than some of the other guys on the slate. So I don't know, it's just a safety issue. And I'm not playing cash. I'm not playing Giannis.
Well, he's got the second highest ceiling, right? You don't think so?
I don't think so. Jokic is obviously so.
SGA, if you want to make that argument.
DraftKings there's only a 500 difference between Jokic and Giannis. That right there is automatically makes it Jokic over Giannis every time because the ceiling for Jokic is so much higher. Has Giannis even? I don't even know what his high score this year is. Probably in the low 70s. Jokic is consistently hitting in the 80s, right? And then Shai Gilgeous is showing you a lot more ceiling these days, and he's quite a bit cheaper than Giannis. So I go that route, and so
73, 74, 2 of his last 8 games for Giannis, but I don't think he's exceeded that. 77, 74. So he's been in the 70s 4 times.
Consistently low 70s is his upside. That's not, I think the other guys are a little bit better. So, but that's why, you got to split hairs. You can't roster everybody, man. You got to find a way to trim it down and not play a guy. That's my reasoning for not playing Giannis. For the Miami side, Hero's back. He's fine. But with Butler gone, it helps his case. It helps a couple of these other guys out. Khalil Ware, man, 5,700, still a cheap enough price tag. But like I said, I kind of like the other guys that we already mentioned, some of those other cheaper value guys also. So I think I'm taking that route. And I don't know, Miami just doesn't seem very exciting these days to roster DFS-wise. It's just, Khalil Ware is kind of giving them a little breath of fresh air DFS-wise. But like I said, I don't want to get caught holding the bag on him because at some point here in the near future, he's going to start putting up some duds. But this may be the one he does it too. I don't know. It's not an easy matchup for him.
I just think you're still meeting that bone at 5.7. He's at 1.15 on the season, fantasy points per minute. If he's going to play 30, 32 minutes, it's a math. It maths out for me. I don't necessarily love the matchup, right, versus Giannis and Lopez. A couple bigs down there, but I think he's still fine. You mentioned, Miami's just not – they're not even fun to watch. Bam has regressed, it seems like. Down to 7-6, but I don't really want any Bam. Nobody's going to play Bam tonight, just for the record. I'm okay with Hero, but probably not getting there. For me, it's basically Ware or bust. But I might have one Giannis lineup. We'll see. I'm a little bit more of a believer than you are, but for sure, I'd rather have Joker. Obviously, if I have the salary. Also, he takes up a center spot. Anything else? By the way, Chop. Apparently, Presley might get traded away from the Astros. I don't know if you saw this news. I don't want to bum you out, but your Astros.
Oh no, I've been ready for them to pull the trigger on him for a while.
Okay, is that something that's been assumed?
Yeah. It's he didn't handle not being a closer very well. He didn't like it. He complained about it. He's got to go. He can't go another year like that. So I'm cool with that. My only question is
that being given the closer job. I don't remember
what's that.
He complained about being the closer.
No, he complained about when they brought Josh Hader in and he had to move to setup guy. He didn't like that, so he kind of cried about it. And my only question is, if the Cubs are going to get Ryan Presley, why wouldn't they just do a bigger deal when they did the deal earlier for Kyle Tucker? But whatever. All right, we'll see how it happens. I'm cool with that. My thing is, Dean, I need clue number 4 here just to see if I can figure this thing out. I'm totally there's
I
so many.
appreciate that you're not cheating in the. If people really want to know, they can jump in the Discord. Clue number 4 is medal, so it's a retired ring award medal. Those
Can
are
you spell that? I don't know which metal it is.
like getting in somebody's business. Is that what you're saying?
Or it could be metal like metal, like Metallica. I don't know which one you're going for there.
What if it was like Metallica? What would you do with that? It's MEDAL.
Metal, like a gold medal or a silver or a bronze medal is what.
Those are all medals.
Okay. All right.
Those are all types of medals.
So I'm looking for an Olympian.
I mean, just okay.
I'm looking for a retired Olympian. Am I on to something, Dean? Am I looking for a retired Olympian?
Maybe you might be. You might be figuring it out. You might be getting there. Okay. Yeah, that's possible.
Ring. So he's a Olympian boxer. Is it Floyd Mayweather? He was in the Olympics. Oscar De La Hoya was in the Olympics.
Oscar De La Hoya was in the Olympics.
That's not the answer, though.
No, it might be. Yeah. I thought that ring would throw people. I thought people would assume like they want to.
Golly. So that was the answer.
Yeah. It was
okay. I feel good about myself.
Yeah, I probably put that one too early because typically, I think most people figure the major sports. You're thinking, football, baseball, basketball, that kind of thing. Never done a boxer before, but yeah. And then the ring, like nobody. I don't know if people think of a boxing ring. But
I've never. The first thing I thought was boxing, and then I thought he would never give ring this early if he was referring to a boxer. So it's got to mean championship ring. So this guy's got to be a champion.
I got cute.
That's what got me. So no, I wouldn't. I thought that's not what did it. Yeah.
Medal also doubles as he was a gold medalist in the Olympics, but also what was his nickname? He was the Golden Boy. What is gold? Gold was a medal. And the last clue was fight. I also had if he needed shirtless was on the board. If he needed shirtless, somebody else suggested things that happened in his personal life that I wasn't going to get into. And that was not one of the clues we were going to delve into. Hook. I don't know what was he an uppercut guy? Was he a combination guy? I don't know what. I'm not a boxing aficionado. I'm not a huge fan of the sweet science. But do you know what his big punch was? Or he didn't have one. I think he was a combination guy.
Yeah, he's just I think he was just a quicker, smallish fighter.
Yeah, 6 different weight divisions I saw.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he was pretty good in his prime.
Sacramento, Denver, 242.5 is a total. That's a big boy total for sure. Sacramento, another team playing the back half of a back-to-back. They worked hard last night. They are 8-point dogs here in Denver. Tough place. Historically, we know Denver is tough as is, but they're really, really tough on the back half of a back-to-back with the elevation there. Second highest elevation in the association. Of course, Utah. I think Utah's number 1, right? I'm pretty sure Utah's number 1. Maybe I'm incorrect. Both those, usually they go hand in hand. Historically, just a tough back-to-back. Speaking of Joker, we talk about Joker. I don't know what his ownership's going to be because of all the good stops along the way as far as center. I want to give her a refresh because when I was writing him up earlier today because I thought it was an interesting contrarian play. I expected Ware to be popular, and I knew Akunga was going to be popular. And you mentioned talking about Gafford, other guys along the way. But and it's also kind of sort of somewhat Joker or bust, although I guess you can play Murray, and I guess you can play Westbrook now. Westbrook's been really, really good starting these days. Gordon still getting his minutes subdued. 23 is his projection. That's basically what he's been playing since coming back from injury. We have Joker at 12%, which is, it's a pretty big slate, but he's got a 13-point raw projection more than everybody else on the slate but Giannis. Giannis is 7 more points or something like that. So, raw points, certainly he can beat the field by 20, and then you're going to want him. Is this the night he does it? I don't know. How do you feel about the Kings and Denver? I should give you the injury rundown as well. Nothing for Sacramento. They are clean, and Denver is also clean. So both these teams should be good to go unless something goofy happens in the middle of the slate. Cole Anthony is ruled out for Orlando.
Anthony's out. Do
we care about that?
Not really.
I wasn't playing him for sure. I thought he was like one of the worst plays in the slate, to be honest. Now, like Black might start, but again, we talked about it. Wagner is going to take away. Who would start? I think it's going to be
Black.
Yeah, Black's going to start, right?
Black, not bad. He's got a little upside to him, so you never know. So let's go with this Denver-Sacramento game. I think this is I think the Sabonis and Fox are just an awesome 1-2 punch in this game. Because Denver's defense stinks this year, stinks especially at things these guys can thrive at. So I think that's a good 1-2 punch. Man, if we had some more value, I'd go Sabonis, Fox, and Jokic in the same lineup, and you'd be way different. But we don't have enough value for that. So maybe Sabonis, Fox, and Russell Westbrook, who can exploit the Sacramento defense, maybe something like that. But I don't mind either Sabonis or Fox or running them together. I think they're both in pretty good shape here. They've both been really good since they fired Mike Brown. I don't know if that is just pure coincidence. I don't know.
Doug Christie.
Yeah, so they've both been really good over that span. So I'm going to keep riding that, and this is a solid matchup for them. So because of that, I won't be getting to Malik Monk or DeMar DeRozan. They're just in that mid-range where no things. I'd rather go with their teammates right there. Jokic is a great play. You mentioned all the things. So the projection, when a projection is that much higher than everybody else, it's for a reason. It's just a matter of can you afford it? If not, I don't mind Russell Westbrook, who's playing pretty darn good in his role with Denver. And, again, pretty good matchup for him right here. So those are the guys I'm looking at mainly. Don't have anything for Gordon or Braun or Porter or even Jamal Murray's probably not a guy. Jamal Murray's not terrible. 7,200 is not a bad one. Yeah, it's not bad, but I'm just given the slate, he's just not on my radar.
I don't think I'm playing the Sacramento guys. I know you talked about playing Fox and Sabonis. Back half of back-to-back, just tough matchup there in Denver historically. They worked really hard last night. They do tend to run these guys into the ground. Sacramento, they're pretty tight rotations. We are projecting DeRozan's been pretty good too, for what it's worth. I pretty much never play him just because mid-range game, his ceiling is not spectacular. They're not going to be terribly popular. We got Sabonis at 2%, Fox at 10, DeRozan at 8 or 9. Monk's got a decent price at $7K. Don't mind that. It is the back half of back-to-back for jump shooters. People say that's a theory. It's just trickier for jump shooters on the back half. But Kevin Huerter, speaking of down bad, man, it's just it's over really, really fast for him. He barely gets on the court these days. The red velvet. I was getting my red nicknames confused up. But do not play Kevin Huerter. Anything else of note, or moving on?
Moving on.
Okay. This is TNT, right? I think it's just TNT night. Yeah, Miami. Oh, by the way, Miami's on TNT tonight versus Milwaukee. That's the front half. The back half is Boston in LA. This is 5-7 for Boston. Just outrageous to schedule these days for some of these teams. We'll talk. The Clippers are 4-5. That's why everybody was hurt last night. Just if you couldn't figure that out. Well, actually, Zubac was legit, he has an eye, but he's back. So we have the Lakers at home tonight on the back half of the TNT doubleheader, taking on the Celtics. Who's in? Who's out? I think, Boston's totally clean, and the Lakers, they have Davis probable, and LeBron is probable. So you never know, but I assume they're going to play. They're not going to not play on national TV. Boston and the Lakers. What do we think? I don't really love this one. There are pieces, but there's no obvious plays for me.
Yeah. The 5-7 would mean a little bit more to me if some of these guys hadn't just sat out the other night. So it's not really a 5-7 for most of them. So I think they're all playable. It's LA, so it's going to be like you said, TNT, Lakers, Celtics. These guys are gonna semi get up for this game. It's not like a playoff game, but it's better than an average regular old run of the mill game in the regular season. So I think we see a little bit of spark here from these guys. With that being said, Jaylen Brown stands out the most to me at a pretty decent salary here in this matchup. I pulled his numbers up earlier. Yeah, he was. I think he can get to the paint on this team and do his thing. He's probably the most. Jason Tatum these days just basically has become a 3-point shooter. Not much else, but Jaylen Brown still has that mix of being able to get to the paint, put the ball down, even though he can't go to his left. That's okay. He can still get in there and mix it up. And that's probably how you want to attack LA the most. So I can get behind that one. The other guys are fine. You never know. Porzingis or White go off. And then on the flip side, Davis and LeBron are always awesome. I'd split them up, not play them together. I'd prefer Davis over LeBron, but I think they're both fine. Austin Reeves, running a lot more point guard these days. So he has a little assist buoy in his game that's pretty good. And that's where I would draw the line on LA as those three guys. So I'm not – no Hachimura and no Max Christie.
By the way, I did look. Brown, it will be 5-7 for Brown. It will be 5-7 for White. They also played overtime last night as well. So these guys have been working hard. I think both those guys played minutes in the 40s. And they played every single games. And I think Tatum as well. Let me just check. I'm pretty sure Tatum has not missed a game either. He played in the 17th, 18th, 20th, and the 22nd. 5 games in 7 nights. Just seems suboptimal. All right. We got anything else as far as Boston and the Lakers, or shall we move on? There's 2 games left to go. Question in chat for you, Chop. Brian's got a question. DK tournaments. It's a 2v2. We haven't talked about Poole just yet, but Poole and Monk versus Lillard and Black.
Whew.
4 guys that are not really on my radar.
That's good though. That's good for tournaments. If you're in a tournament and that's the kind of question you're asking, and the projections check out, as those guys are all projecting fine. It's a good question to ask for tournaments. I would probably lean towards Black and Lillard, because of Lillard. Out of those 4, probably has as much upside as anybody. That's where I would lean, but it's a good question.
By the way, the projection team, obviously they're listening to me. Robert Williams, 22 minutes now projected, and he's close to 20 DK points. I bet you he's going to be hitting some stuff now. He is hitting stuff now. So you give it a refresh, and he's got a little bit more than his original projection. Certainly they weren't listening to me, but I feel like I was onto something there, Chop. Bulls, Warriors, 228.5 is the total incoming. Robert Williams plays like 12 minutes. The Warriors are favored tonight by a point. This is a tricky one, right? Because we just got Steph Curry rest, possibly. I don't know. And they're giving him injury management with his knee. Kyle Anderson slow-mo's out. Draymond's out. TJD has got an ankle, so he's questionable. If he doesn't go, you feel a little bit better about Looney. Looney, I feel bad about last night. I never want to play a guy just got sick and left the game. But he's not on the injury report, but he also wasn't on the injury report last night. So, but I would imagine he's feeling better. Moody's a probable. Gary Payton, GP3. The mitten is good to go. He's probable with his illness. Lindy Waters, the third is questionable as well. So a lot of nonsense with Golden State, but they also have a big rotation, of course, and plenty of pieces. I think Steph's a really good play. His ability to threes. You love the 3-point matchup against the Bulls. I don't know if he's playing. Do we have a plan here, Chop? Like, what's the plan? Because, you do have 3 games to work with, right? You have Boston and the Lakers at 10 o'clock. We don't know when the Steph news is going to come out. Probably at 8, 8:30, 9, not sure. But if nothing else, you have 3 games to work with. Boston, LA, Washington, and the Clippers we'll talk about in a second. But do you have any sort of plan as far as making lineups, or is it not even worth making a plan? If Steph is in, if Steph is out?
Dean, with some teams, you get a superstar who's questionable and probably on the more of the doubtful side. I would definitely be thinking about it. But with the Warriors, even if Steph is out, Buddy High is going to jump into optimals, or he's going to be he's going to be in the mix, and so is Dennis Schrader, right?
Yeah. He's fallen out of favor, but like he would have to step
but
up.
the projection is going to be like
Yeah.
27, 28-ish or something if Steph was out. So it'd put him in there, even though I don't want. And those are guys I don't want to play anyway. Like if Steph Curry is out, I don't want to play. So I probably don't even worry about that. If Curry plays, I don't have to take anybody at all. And if Curry is out, I probably don't want to take those guys anyway. With Chicago, maybe Trace Jackson Davis stays on the board because of the Chicago matchup. And we know they suck at on defense. He's the one to attack them right there. Maybe Andrew Wiggins. And that's about, and those are guys I'm looking at, even if with Steph being a coin flip. Those are guys I would still be looking at. The other guys that would pop with Steph out don't interest me either way. So I'm not really going out of my way to worry about that particular injury. But I get it if people want to reserve some spots and take some chances there.
Yeah, Pods is back as well. Yeah,
Oh,
he's I mean, I don't know how much run he's going to get, but if anything, he can eat off somebody else. But you kind of referenced, like, if we somehow lose Trace Jackson Davis, I feel really goofy about the Looney thing, but this is an awesome Looney spot, right? But for both of them, TJD is questionable, but the Bulls give up the most opponent points in the paint by a good margin, 56.1 per game. If you want to get all precise, that is 3 points more than the next terrible team, that is New Orleans. And that's Looney's game. It's just kind of a junk man insider kind of roll stuff. So put back. I never want to play Kevon Looney, especially with all the centers I like today. But he could be interesting.
Man. That's the problem. Is the eligibility at the center spot would drive him. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do that. So but like I said, if you want to reserve some spots for these night games, Dean, here's the thing. It's all about like your own personal preference on that.
Yeah.
Personally, Dean, I don't mind these days locking up my spots early, so I don't even have to look at it later on. I don't even have to late swap if I don't want to.
What if you lose though?
On nights like tonight? I'm playing. If I have two lineups side by side and they're both projecting very similar, like what's the difference, right? Like if they're both projecting pretty similar, and this one doesn't have any late swaps, so I don't have to worry about it 3 hours down the road, or maybe I have one swap I could make. I'll tend to lean towards that most nights on the weekdays when I don't want to feel like messing with late swaps. So if they project them pretty well, I get it. But if you want to leave some spots open, if it was another team, let's say that was I don't know who else is on this slate. Who's
Clippers, Washington. We're talking about them.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's go back to the Lakers. We just talked about the Lakers. If Anthony Davis was on the doubtful side, like highly doubtful,
Jackson Hayes,
I think then I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. That might be news I can attack. Steph Curry, though, the way they play ball in Golden State, I'm not sure I can attack that anyway like that. So it kind of doesn't bother me, not having an empty spot for that swap.
My only pushback is you're saying if two project the same, take the all the other stuff.
Yeah,
and I know. I understand. The pushback is the projections will change if the status of players will change, and all of a sudden, which you can't project for that, right? So that's my pushback, and it's not like something going to come out of nowhere. It's that we know that there are players questionable, so there's a legit chance of some kind of shenanigans. But again, you have 3 games to work with. I saw somebody in chat say, just play Levine on the other side. If at worst case scenario, if you're stuck with Curry, and you're not necessarily going to be stuck with him because you can find a way to get to Tatum if you have like positional flexibility, or find a way to get to LeBron, or find a way to get to Harden, right? Like these are things you can do. So I'm just saying, have a plan. If you have Curry in there right now, have a plan. I wouldn't just have Curry and nobody else. And you mentioned Wiggins, like he's like safe-ish either way, and he would get a bit of a bump. Looney's 4-1, but yeah, it's just, and what is that guy's upside? Like, what's the best Looney game you're going to see? Like the Bulls give up a ton of rebounds, and they give a ton of points inside. So this is the Looney spot, if there is a Looney spot. We didn't really talk about the Bulls. Did you have a thought as far as Chicago? We're expecting. Do we actually have him projected out? We might have. I think he's officially questionable. We might actually be projecting him out. That's White for Chicago. DeSumo expected back tonight, but he's officially questionable. Nothing else of note there for the Bulls.
I think that Vucevic is somebody. Vooch and Zach LaVine, the same price tag on DraftKings. I don't know. Zach LaVine is a scorer. That's what he does. He doesn't give you a whole lot else. Not a whole bunch else. So it is what it is. Vooch can get you that 20-10 double-double for 8,200 is a fair thing. He's probably the better matchup for me in this game. So maybe go Vooch there. Giddey's a triple-double threat. That's for 7,100. I think he's fine. He's in play. And the rest of that stuff, probably not big on IU or Ball or anybody like that. Although Lonzo Ball, I do appreciate his brother dropping that nice rap song. I've been listening to it when I walk the dog lately, so he gets.
Is it like a whole album or a whole CD or just one song?
It's one good song. He's got other songs he's made. They just not like this one.
He didn't come out of nowhere. He's just like this isn't like it's just people finally discovered him. Has he been doing his thing for a while and he finally broke through?
I don't know if it's for a while, but I think maybe since he realized basketball wasn't going to be his thing, maybe he's been concentrating on rap. He's got a couple of songs out there. They're not good though, but this one's pretty good.
Vegan's got a question for you. How do you decide what site you play given on a given night?
First of all, I've learned that I am not going to play both sites on the same night. I'm not going to play DraftKings and FanDuel on the same night because when news starts coming in on some nights, it's just too much, man, to handle two sites. You know what I mean? Like it's like if that news comes down 7 minutes before the slate locks and you got to it's too much. So I'm going to pick one site every night. Honestly, when DraftKings runs good college basketball tournaments, I want to play that over there. So I play NBA on FanDuel those nights. And then sometimes I look at the slate and go, well, DraftKings has cut off those two late games, and I want that. So I'll play DraftKings NBA over there on those nights. Night like tonight, I'll play college basketball on DraftKings, play around with it. The slates are the exact same on both sites, so I'll go FanDuel NBA.
Last game on the slates, we're in LA. Again, the Clippers playing 4 and 5, but a lot of the guys are back tonight, did not play yesterday. The only players on their injury report right now are Chris Dunn, who's out. Jordan Miller doesn't really matter. PJ Tucker, I didn't know he was with the team. And as far as Washington, nothing new there. Brogdon and Bagley are both out. FanDuel specific, by the way, Harden is awesome. You're playing on FanDuel. His price over there is really, really good, especially when you consider they're facing Washington. I think if you're playing cash games, he's one of my first quote-unquote big spends that I would play on FanDuel. How do you feel about the Clippers? And then, Zubac, another center who looks awesome. Any centers against Washington, he should fully smash here. Like him a good bit. We saw DJJ was amazing last night, but again, that was in the absence of a lot of dudes. He's got to take a back seat once again, but and then any runbacks as far as Washington. Do you agree as far as Harden, especially on FanDuel? Like that feels to me. He's in the 8s over there. He's 9.5 on DK, but I think he's like 8.5 on FanDuel, which is just way too cheap.
The Clippers might be debatable, but they might have the most of my favorite plays of anybody tonight.
Okay.
Like just in general, without injury news coming up and messing things and changing things. Because you mentioned James Harden, yeah. So first of all, we know that Atlanta is the worst defense against 3-point shooting this year in general, and Washington's nipping at their heels unless that changed in the last day or two. Did Washington overtake them for worst?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. Washington's the worst.
Okay.
Also give up the most opponent total rebounds, like the worst defensive rating, I believe.
I hadn't looked at it in a couple of days, but I knew Washington was right there with Atlanta as worst. So who's going to shoot three-pointers? Well, James Harden shoots a lot of three-pointers. Norman Powell is the most prolific three-point shooter for the LA Clippers. So those two guys can attack that outside shooting deficiency they have. You mentioned the rebounds. Well, James Harden mixes into the rebound game also. He's a very, very good rebounding guard. So he's in that mix. And Zubac is a monster on the boards in general. And now he gets to play this team. His prop tonight is 13.5, under 13.5 rebounds. on most of these sites, on some of these sites.
Why wouldn't it be?
That's a monster. Yeah. Well, usually with the props, you're kind of in line with your season average. So usually Zubac is going to be a 12.5 total prop.
Yeah.
You jump up a whole point like that, man, that's a big number. So that's just telling you right there, because he's also projected to score double-digit points. So you're getting 7,200 on DraftKings. You're locking in a double-double, assuming he plays fairly run a minute. So I like those three guys a lot to attack Washington in all of those different ways. Harden, Zubac, Powell. Washington, I don't have to run it back with anybody. They're not particularly good. Maybe Jordan Poole. Maybe Jordan Poole gets loose. None of them are projecting like off the charts here. Nothing great. So I don't think I have to run it back with anybody for Washington.
Carrington's cheap enough at 4-1 on DK, but I don't feel like I have to run it back with anybody. Like you said, Zubac is the most popular currently on DK at 20%. We're seeing Harden at just 8%, but again, he's distinctly more expensive on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. We got Crunch Time coming in there momentarily. I believe it's Kyle Murray. I want to see the debut of Noto for Crunch Time this year. I feel like he has not been on. If he has, I missed it. I must have been out or something like that. And, of course, Kevin Roth holding it down. Eric in chat, if he's to be trusted, is telling us that Curry is in. Is that officially dropped, or is he making that up? Because I feel like we wouldn't get that news right now. He's making that up, isn't he? What am I doing falling for that? Yeah, that did not drop just yet. Jalen Johnson in, Trae Young officially in. Hit that like button, subscribe. Apparently we have twice as many people voted in our poll. Do you like MLB or NBA DFS better, as opposed to actually hitting the like button?
What won? Who was the winner? Who was the winner?
Margin of error. It's the 47% baseball, 53% NBA. Which, by the way, I would give it to baseball only because they have home field advantage for basketball. It's a basketball show. So, yeah. But, it's a slight edge to NBA over MLB. But, it depends when you ask. If you ask this on, like, the last week of NBA, baseball is going to win. If you ask this in the last week of baseball, NBA is going to win. I think it depends on when you ask the question. Chops, what people want to know, who are you feeling in your plums? Who's breaking the slate tonight?
Lots of good players to choose from. All kinds of price ranges, Dean. But I know you're down on Sacramento, but I'm going to say for $8,400, I think that's a really good price tag for De'Aaron Fox. I don't think that I think it's a good game. Sacramento and Denver means a little something to these guys, and I think De'Aaron Fox is in good enough shape that the back-to-back isn't going to hurt him. So I'm going De'Aaron Fox.
Let's go ahead, seamlessly segue to Crunch Time. Kyle Murray, Kevin Roth, and Noto. Let's do it. Let's get there. Crunch Time. Noto, is this? Can you confirm? Is this your first Crunch Time this season? Am I just forgetting it? Was it unmemorable to me for some reason?
This might be my first Crunch Time ever.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, let's do it.
Welcome. Did you see our poll question, by the way? I don't know if you would take. And I think it depends when you ask. Which do you prefer? I know you're in the golf. You probably want to say golf. I'm guessing that's your favorite. But which do you prefer, baseball or NBA DFS?
Yeah, like you said, it's all about when you ask. Right now, my answer is clearly MLB. The NBA grind is just something else. So, right now it's MLB, and then, middle of the summer, I'll be missing some NBA too.
Yeah, this is we're still in the first half of the season, technically, and like what your Jazz are doing, Noto, is outrageous. It's the smart thing to do, but what they're doing is outrageous. I'm sure you've noticed.
Hey, we have a hockey team now. Don't need the Jazz.
Yeah. Do you watch the hockey? Have you been to the arena? You watched the game you said?
Yeah, we took the boys the other night. That was a lot of fun. So they're all over hockey club over the Jazz already.
I like that they're the hockey club. They have no name, and also isn't Jazz Bear like working overtime?
Yeah, he's doing double duty, kind of like we are around here, just getting all the shows, all the content out, just like Jazz Bear.
Are they trying to figure out a mascot, or Jazz Bear is just too popular? They're just like, he owns the city, Jazz Bear.
Yeah, I don't know. He's everywhere too. He's always all around the city doing things. So yeah, they'll probably keep him.
at any given time, there's like 17 different dudes in Salt Lake City, like saying to people in the bar that he's actually Jasper. I bet that's somebody's using that line. Somebody's using that line. You can't prove it otherwise.
For sure. It's probably working too.
All right. Roth, how are things? We doing all right?
Yeah, I'm just a little flummoxed. I did not know that Utah had a hockey team. I guess that's new, but I still probably should have known that happened. Had no idea. Looking at their roster now. Okay.
Logan Cooley. You know who doesn't have a hockey team anymore? Arizona. The Coyotes lost their team.
Yeah. Well, Houston was supposed to take them, and then that never really happened because Houston does not have a hockey team, and we're like the 5th biggest city in the country. So what's up with that?
Well, it's also Texas, but we have Dallas. I know it's not next door, but yeah, there's one. Is there one hockey team? Yeah, just one, right?
Yeah, it's not enough.
You got a minor league team, I'm sure. I imagine that's not the same, obviously.
No, doesn't count.
All right, Chop. Anything else before we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
No, just it's good to see Noto, man. I haven't seen you in a long time, brother.
I know, man. Missed our show with beer. Maybe we can bring it back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The budget cuts around here, and they ain't bringing no shows back anytime soon.
Well, Beer and Noto, I believe, are on tomorrow night with me. Are you aware of this?
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So basically, I just got replaced by Dean.
Well, I guess I don't make the schedule.
Oh, that's a whole different story. They're telling me we're shutting the show down, but then they're really just replacing me with Dean.
If you want to get all technical, I think I'm actually playing Roth's role tomorrow night because I think it's just a Roth. I don't know if you know this. It's like a 3 or 4 game slate. I think you're off.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw this, but
and I'm so devastated too. I'm really bummed. I'm really bummed that you're taking over for me. I get a Friday night off.
Yeah, I'm looking and I'm like, I was like, 3 game slate. I might be off. Nope, I'm Roth. All right.
Thank you, Meansy.
Let's start up crunch time. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't go anywhere. You got 37 minutes from 2 of the absolute best in the business, Kyle and Noto. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, it's 3 of the best in the business, Dean. I'm here as well. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is crunch time. You know the drill. Same show, but new faces. Noto in the house. Noto, I haven't hung out with you since, I don't know, Super Bowl party, a few beers deep. It was good times, but it's been a minute. How are you?
It's been a while. Life is changing fast over here. Have a baby on the way. Trying to buy a new house in the next couple months. A lot going on. How are you guys?
Got a new hockey team. There's all kinds of things happening. Well, congratulations to you. Happy to work on a show with you. And I'm in the mood to win some money. So I'm hoping you can help me out with that. You like this slate?
Yeah. I don't know. They're all kind of the same these days. Just waiting for more players to get added to the injury report and adjusting on the fly. So, that's why we're here.
That is true. That is what we do best. We got Kyle Murray in the house as well. What he does best is projections and win. You're on the projection team, right? That's fair to say.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
Would have been weird if you weren't after I said that. I thought you were. I'm excited about the slate. The Mavs are on. I just like jamming in Mavs because I'm a Mavs fan. Anything you feel particularly good, or is it you with Noto? It's like, it's aight.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good value places. Obviously, some injuries that opened up some stuff, and obviously we're waiting on some news, which is always, the typical for NBA DFS. But I think it's a pretty good slate. A lot of spend up options to go with some nice value plays. So I don't think there's a lot of really bargain bin guys. I think it was just kind of a change from some slates the past couple of weeks, which is nice in my opinion. But there's still some great plays to talk about.
That is nice because I always play the 3K guys who get me 10 points and then I lose. So I'm glad there are not any of those on the slate. Producer Steve says, smash the like button or I will end the show now. You heard the man. Yeah, he's crazy. He'll do it. He's crazy. So make sure you hit that thumbs up for us. It is free content, and the reason we are making this free is to get the eyeballs, get the traction. But if you don't hit thumbs up, we don't get any of that, and then the whole thing goes out the window, and producer Steve ends the show. Let's dive into it here. Let's just start things off. Kyle, you can lead us off. FanDuel, we like to start at point guard. What do you see over there that has your eye, good sir?
So obviously, quick questionable note for Steph Curry, who does grade out pretty well over on FanDuel, only 8.8. Obviously, do prefer him on DraftKings where he gets the 3-point bonus, but that price tag is pretty nice for him. It's been an up and down season for Steph in terms of his overall production, but again, just that price tag does have him in play as well as the matchup against Chicago. If he's in, I think he's a really strong option. If not, Obviously, we'll have some other Warrior value to talk about, but James Harden also up here at the top. They pretty much had a mass rest last night. They are in a weird spot where they're playing like 3 games in 4 days or something like that. And obviously this is the back half of a back-to-back from last night. So these guys are all pretty fresh. Now they get a great matchup against Washington. So those are the 2 guys I'm looking at up top, Harden and Curry. Also like Tyler Hero in this spot with obviously Jimmy Butler suspended. He's going to be, pretty much the guy handling the majority of the usage for this team. Looking down in price a little bit here, I still think Kevin Porter's in play, even with all these guys back. He had a big game last night, scored about 20, I think it was 24 points in regulation. Again, really good matchup against Washington. We have him for 22 minutes, so at 4-1, he's in play. Other cheap guys, Dosunmu. Westbrook's not necessarily cheap, but at 7K, I do like him as long as they don't switch anything up with the starting lineup there. Obviously, with Aaron Gordon kind of easing his way back in, I wouldn't be surprised at some point to see his minutes cap obviously relinquish and then maybe enter the starting lineup again. Anthony Black should also start again with Cole Anthony out, so him at 5.5 is another value guy I like tonight.
Okay, good stuff. Noto, when you look at point guard, is there anything else you want to add to the mix here?
Yeah, me and Kyle pretty much broke it down beautifully. But I really like just playing Curry. And then if he happens to be out on the back-to-back, you just pivot to Harden. That game starts 30 minutes later, so you have plenty of time to do that. And Curry's 300 more, so it can just be a pretty easy straight swap there. A couple other guys I like in tournaments. You have Trae Young. That's my favorite game environment of the slate. I mean, Atlanta and Toronto, they're both top 10 in pace, both bottom 5 in points allowed per game. It's one of those games that, 2 bad teams could end up being 130 to 125, something like that. So don't mind Trae Young in tournaments. Don't mind Tyler Hero with Butler still out. I think he's averaged 42 fantasy points over the last 2 seasons with Butler out of the lineup. But, agree with everyone else that Kyle said.
Okay, then take me to shooting guard, Noto. What are you doing there?
Yeah, this is kind of a position that I like to punt, especially on a place like this where just not a lot of great spend-up options. So I like Quentin Grimes. Got to think he's going to be pretty involved with a lot of minutes too. Tough matchup against OKC. I think they're first in defensive rating, first in points allowed per game this season. But anytime you get him, 4,800 for 30-plus minutes, I'll take that. Kyle mentioned Kevin Porter. I think he's a good play too. Anyone against Washington's viable. And then just some of the guys we already talked about, Malik Monk, Tyler Hero. You can play the Golden State guys too, especially if Curry ends up being out. Yeah, Buddy Hield, Dennis Schroeder. That's pretty much all I'm looking at for small field stuff.
Okay. Kyle, you playing Quentin Grimes first and foremost? Because that dude is on my shit list right now after, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but didn't end well.
Yeah, he's had 2 bad games in a row, but last game he played, 36 minutes and busted. But again, if you're going to get, 34 plus minutes out of a guy at this price range, you kind of got to just at least have him in your player pool and hope he cashes in there. I will say he's a guy who primarily is a guy who's going to stand outside and try to hit threes, but he's actually shown some pretty good rebounding rates so far this year as well. So I do like Quentin Grimes there, like that call. At 4,800, he should be one of the more popular players at this position on FanDuel. A couple other guys that don't carry over from the position. I didn't mention Jamal Murray over at the point guard position, but if you're not playing Jokic tonight, I do like taking some stabs there for Jamal Murray. This game has a pretty solid total, and obviously just with the game theory aspect of, I do think people try to get to Jokic, maybe more so on FanDuel than DraftKings, but I do like Murray there. And then a couple other guys in the value range. Grady Dick, we have him for 28 minutes tonight, but I do think he has upside for 28 to 30 plus in this spot. They have been trying to sort of cap his minutes there at that 28 number, but if this game stays close, which it definitely could with a 5-point spread, I think he has upside to play 30 plus minutes tonight, and obviously a pretty solid matchup there and a good game environment like Noto alluded to in that Toronto and Atlanta game.
Okay, I love that call. What are we doing at small forward, Kyle?
Yeah, a lot of guys, again, in this Atlanta-Toronto game project really well. Jalen Johnson, this is a great rebounding spot for especially power forwards. No team allows more rebounds to opposing power forwards than the Raptors, and obviously Jalen Johnson is a big-time rebounding power forward, so it's a great rebounding spot for him. 8,200. DeAndre Hunter also projects very well. Scotty Barnes. So 3 guys in that Toronto and Atlanta game. Should be a popular game from a fantasy perspective, and rightfully so. Also like Paolo Banchero here in this game. I do think we're going to continue to see his minutes sort of climb here. He played 31 minutes last game. That was the first time he peaked over 30, before the return to the injury there. So I do think we have him for 32 minutes. I think it's a pretty reasonable projection if this game stays close. Grimes carries over from the shooting guard position. Again, another guy in this Toronto game, RJ Barrett, I think projects well. And then a lot of these Golden State guys, Andrew Wiggins, Buddy Hield, Grady Dick I already alluded to. So a lot of the guys that we already mentioned, but obviously keep an eye out for that. Not only the Steph Curry news, but also the starting lineup. We did see Dennis Schroeder go to the bench for Buddy Hield last game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of switch that back up, but if Buddy Hield stays in the starting lineup, I think he's a pretty strong play, whether Curry's in or not.
So Paolo got 32 minutes last game. Are the training wheels off fully, or have they said they're still kind of holding him back somewhat?
There hasn't been any official word on that, but obviously it does make sense for him to continue to kind of progress forward. We have him for 32 minutes in the projections tonight. I would say that's probably a pretty safe projection, but if the game stays close and it's competitive down to the wire, which isn't a guarantee because they are playing Portland, but if it is one of those close games, I wouldn't be surprised to see 33, 34 minutes here.
And I'm in. Click the draft button. Okay, Noto, what are we doing at small forward?
Yeah, pretty much just anyone in that Atlanta-Toronto game for me. Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter. RJ Barrett looks pretty good. Yeah, I have Barrett tagged right now. He's probably a better, more palatable price on DraftKings, but 8,200 is still pretty good there. Atlanta, just shell of a defense. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that I don't get too often, but just pulling up his game log in the last 3 games where he's played full minutes, he's had 40, 60, and 37 fantasy points. So 6,300, that's good. And then you potentially get the late breaking Curry news that would help his usage out quite a bit. Tournaments, maybe look at Jalen Williams. He's a guy that anytime nobody's on him, I tend to want to be overweight a little bit, because he does have that high ceiling, 44 plus in 3 of his last 6. Outside of that, yeah, Banchero, definitely interesting now that he's playing more minutes. I think, with Orlando getting some guys back tonight, maybe people will be scared to play him, but I think he's going to be in a really good spot. Anthony's out, Suggs is out, so he's one of my favorite tournament plays too.
I approve. All right, power forward, what do you like there, Noto?
Yeah, I love Okongwu. He's just been awesome. Larry Nance is out. Clint Capella's out over his last 5 games. He's top 45 fantasy points 3 times. He's always been a good per minute producer. Gives you cheap access to that Atlanta-Toronto game. Jalen Johnson's here as well. DeAndre Hunter's here as well. Scotty Barnes here as well. So all the guys that I like at small forward, also power forward eligible. Same with Banchero. Cheap. I don't know much about this Prosper guy, but he projects pretty well. I guess I'll save him for Kyle. So you can tell us a little bit more about his game. But, yeah, Jalen Williams there too. It's pretty much all the same guys that I liked at small forward except for Okongwu.
Okay, Kyle, you want to start with Okongwu and break down power forward for me?
Yeah, obviously Okongwu there is going to be the chalk of the slate. Makes sense. He's kind of overtaken Clint Capella in terms of rotation. Last 5 games, 26-plus minutes. He started the last 2 games over Capella, and now with Capella out, he should be in there for 30-plus minutes fairly easily. And again, we've talked about this game at length, how good of an environment it is. So definitely like Okongwu on both sites, but even more so on FanDuel because he does have that power forward eligibility, which is very nice. Giannis as a spend-up option is always in play, especially when considering he's going to be sub 10%. I do like a couple of the other spend-ups a little bit more, but again, under 10% definitely in play. In terms of Prosper, he was a guy who actually graded out okay in terms of his per minute production, right around 0.8, 0.82. And obviously last game he was fairly chalky, played 25 minutes, projected really well, and obviously went out there and laid a stinker. Shot the ball 7 times though. I mean, in terms of a guy who you're kind of hoping goes out there, grabs some rebounds, puts up some defensive stats, the 7 shot attempts, including 3 of them being from 3, aren't too bad. So I'm kind of hoping this is a guy where people are afraid to go back to him here. I don't think he's some elite play. We do project him for some popularity here, but I'm thinking that maybe with some bad taste left in a lot of people's mouths, he might become a little bit lower owned than I think what a lot of the models are projecting. And then in terms of some other names, I think we kind of named them all at the small forward position. One name I'll throw out there is Derek Jones. He obviously had the big game last night, 43 minutes in the overtime game, 51 DK points, FanDuel points as well. Obviously not expecting that kind of usage and production from Jones again with all these guys back. He's definitely not going to take 20 shots again, but it is still a really good matchup here against Washington. And then I guess if you're looking for a contrarian play, Kelly Olynyk, I don't mind here. 18 to 20 minutes is probably where he's going to project. I would be careful probably not to play him with Jakob Poeltl. A lot of times when you see Poeltl's minutes drop, Olynyk is the one benefiting from that, but 23% usage rate over the last 2 games. So Olynyk at least grades out as a somewhat viable dart play here in the under 4K range.
Good stuff. Take me to center.
Yep. So you have Jokic here, who's actually projecting for 9% projected ownership right now on FanDuel. I do like that. Obviously, I mentioned there's not really a ton of super bargain bin type plays, so spending all the way up nearly 13K is not ideal. But I still think it's worth especially if you're playing, several lineups there. But I think that, in terms of opportunity cost, a lot of these guys in the cheap range are going to grade out better in terms of, find their way in lineups here. You have Okongwu, who you can, again, you almost certainly want to play him at power forward on FanDuel. You have guys like Wendell Carter and then Khalil Ware, who obviously had the big game last time. I think he played 39 minutes there, playing alongside Bam Adebayo too, which was encouraging to see him get that amount of minutes, even with Bam also starting. And you also have Zubac here, great matchup there at 7-8. So those are probably the top 4 or 5 centers there, especially if you're not playing Jokic in the spend-up range.
Noto, you want to add some names there at center?
Yeah, just a quick question for Kyle. Has Ware been playing more power forward?
Yeah, he's been playing. So the last 2 games he played, a lot of the 4 alongside Bam. I will say last game was kind of a weird situation where it was kind of a blowout, but also we could have seen Bam out there. Bam only played 22 minutes. The Heat kind of threw the towel in there, but I definitely think we can still see Ware play 30+ minutes even if Bam's out there.
Nice. Yeah, I was just wondering if he's going to match up against Giannis or Brook Lopez. But, you always worry a little bit about foul trouble for young guys facing Giannis. But, you got to love the per minute production on the season. He's up to 1.15 DK, 1.19 FT. You mentioned the minutes have been good. So, I like him. I like Okongwu. Anytime we get Jokic at low ownership, I just jam him in on both sides. It's just kind of what I like to do because he's always good for 70+ fantasy points on most nights. Wendell Carter, like you guys mentioned. Vucevic is a guy that just never seems to get ownership, and he tops 50 fantasy points so often. We know their front court for Golden State's been dealing with a bunch of injuries, so they're going to be shorthanded. So I could see Vucevic having a big game, kind of give you that late night hammer too.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. We want to kick it over to DK. Before we do that, we want to make sure that you've got the best deal in the biz. For a limited time, get your first month of Combo Pro for $79.99. Just $15 more than PGA Premium, which also is a phenomenal product. Shout out to Noto. $5 more than NBA Premium. That is some phenomenal value. You get all the sports for $79.99 for your first month. So make sure you are taking advantage of that. Hit us with a thumbs up, by the way, if you're watching this free content. And now we shall dive into DK. Noto, you can lead us off there. What are we doing at point on DraftKings? I had KPJ. Is that crazy?
No, not crazy. We talked about it as a good play over on FanDuel. What's his price? Yeah, he's $4,400 on DraftKings, so a little bit more expensive. It's one of those guys that's just great per minute producer, and when you get a matchup against Washington, got to think he's going to play well. I like that. I have Curry tagged over here too, but again, you might have to make some late adjustments. So if you're a set it and forget it type of guy, which you probably shouldn't be playing DFS, NBA DFS if you are. Maybe Roth.
I just need the money. It's fine. I'm just like, well, there goes that.
I do miss the days of no late swap. I get the merits of it and everyone gets burned by it, but man, you could just set your lineup and you enjoy the rest of your night. I miss those days a little bit. But Malik Monk, again, he's been awesome. I think he's had 40+ fantasy points in 7 of his last 8. Good matchup against Denver too. I talked about Trae Young over on FanDuel. I think he's even a better play over on DraftKings with the 3-point bonus. Jamal Murray's even cheaper over here than he is on FanDuel. Same with De'Aaron Fox. I think it's a good position to spend up on and then kind of take your values at shooting guard and small forward.
Okay, good stuff. Kyle, your thoughts at point on DK?
Yeah, a lot of the thoughts carry over from FanDuel, especially with Steph and Jamal Murray. I like the Malik Monk call quite a bit. I think that's actually a pretty good game to potentially stack up, especially in large field stuff. It's a game with a 7.5 point total, so maybe some people are sort of straying away from that. Obviously, Sacramento's had an up and down season, but 242 total in that game, so it could be a good one. And I do like the Monk price there at $7K. In terms of some other guys that stand out, there's a lot of guys up here in the 8K plus range. You have Fox, SGA, Trae Young, James Harden, all really strong plays. So I really don't think you can go any wrong directions there. Scottie Barnes probably my favorite though, alongside Steph Curry if he plays. Again, I think the later the news goes here for Steph Curry, his ownership's falling, which makes him an even better play. So Steph is definitely on my radar there. And again, kind of one of the reasons why it's difficult to set your lineup early and then forget about it, especially with late news. But some other value range. Schroeder, again, I don't love if you're playing Steph Curry, but if he's out, strong play there. And I'm assuming he's not going to be starting in this one again. Lonzo Ball at 4.4 also projects pretty well. He's been pretty consistent, 24 to 26 minutes. Kevin Porter Jr., we already talked about. And then Anthony Black here at 5.4 again, should be starting with no Cole Anthony, no Jalen Suggs. Usage will probably be down there with Banchero and Franz Wagner back, but he's kind of a guy who can put up some stats kind of up and down the stat sheet. So do not mind Black there at 5-4.
Kyle, you mentioned if Curry's out, Schroeder is a good play. Is there anyone who just jumps to, you must play this dude? Because obviously Steph is a massive usage guy, so somebody's getting the bump.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wiggins would also get a nice bump. I mean, he's been playing really well, and the minutes have been really high for Wiggins as of late. But Buddy Hield as well. Again, he'd probably go from a guy who projects for 25 to 26 minutes to 30 plus minutes. Schroeder probably pretty similar in terms of his minutes range. So I think both of those guys, and then Wiggins would probably be the ones that stick out the most to me.
Okay, and then I'll kind of just follow up with this question from Jay Sams. We know DS and Buddy become viable with the Golden State. But I'm specifically asking about TDJ being questionable. Would you like guys like Santos and Looney? Would they become viable?
Yeah, you always got to be careful with Looney because, even like last night, for example, he got the start, but then, didn't start the second half. Obviously, if Jackson Davis is out, it's probably unlikely that he would, not start the second half. But even when he's guaranteed, to start, he's not always guaranteed big minutes, but he is a good permanent producer. So I wouldn't mind Looney there if Jackson Davis is out, and then Santos as well. I think it would be also a strong play at 3,500 on DraftKings. But again, for him, you definitely need Jackson Davis out.
Gotcha. Okay, take me to shooting guard, Kyle.
Yeah. Again, a lot of these guys carry over. So all the top end options that we discussed at the point guard position, Malik Monk, Jamal Murray, those guys are both strong plays here. Again, I do prefer Jamal Murray if you're not playing Jokic. I think that makes a lot of sense to target him there. Quentin Grimes is here at 4,900. Grady Dick at 4,200. We did just get news that Abaji is also out for Toronto. I don't think that bumps up Dick's minutes rate, I think, a ton from 32 plus minutes or anything like that, but it potentially gives him a couple extra minutes. But more often it just solidifies his projection here at 28 minutes. So like Grady Dick in this matchup against Atlanta, obviously a really good game environment there as well. And then the Golden State guys, Buddy Hield I like regardless of Steph Curry's status, but obviously like him even more if he's out. The Sumo we talked about is priced a little bit higher on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, but I still think he's a fine option. And then Bruce Brown, I do think is at least in consideration now. He's a guy that could potentially see a couple more minutes with Noah Agbaji. He's been a pretty good permanent producer over the course of his career. Kind of been a slow start this season with the long injury layoff, but at 3.9, he's a guy who's sub 4K. You can make a case for in your lineups.
Okay, good stuff. Noto, your thoughts at shooting guard?
Like I said, looking for value here. So I like the Grady Dick call against Atlanta. In tournaments, Bud Carrington maybe probably see around 30 minutes in that final game of the night. Don't mind that. You can go to Quentin Grimes and Lou Dort. They're kind of just big minutes guys that you hope make some threes. And then if you're spending up, we talked about all the best plays, but Zach LaVine's interesting too, just because we don't know Dosunmu and Kobe White both questionable. So if one of them two end up being out. And I think it just makes some sense to leave a lot of guys from the last few, or a lot of spots for the last few games, because you do have the Curry news, you have Kobe White, Dosunmu, TJD, all questionable. So you can definitely play around with a lot of different swaps depending on injury news.
Okay. Take me to small forward.
All right, so over here, I definitely have RJ Barrett tagged, probably my favorite point per dollar spend on the board. On DraftKings, 7.7K, no Emmanuel quickly. He's been great, 29% usage rate on the season. And again, matchup against Atlanta, sign me up for that. Scotty Barnes, kind of the same argument, a little bit more expensive. Probably going to fill up the stat sheet a little bit better. And then I think Prosper is definitely in play if you do want to punt the spot. He's only 3,200 here, again, projected for 26 minutes. And then, we talked about Wiggins. I do want to – is there anybody we could play from the Celtics-Lakers game? It feels like it's going to be like one of those classic rivalry playoff-like atmospheres. And, LeBron, Tatum, AD. Do you like any of those guys, Kyle?
In terms of the spend-ups, I think it's fairly difficult just because there's a lot of guys up here in this range. But obviously you can play, Tatum any night. Lakers haven't really been, that terrible of a matchup either. So I don't mind Tatum. Davis and LeBron, they both project fine for me, but I mean, I just think that if I'm going above 10K specifically on DraftKings, I think I prefer some of the other options. But you make a good point. We haven't really talked about any of the cheaper Boston options. Like Porzingis has played pretty significant minutes in games that have stayed close, and I think maybe it's a game where you maybe want to hope that the game stays close and that he does see more minutes, and he would actually grade out pretty solid for me.
Okay. I think where are we at here, Noto? Take us to power forward.
All right. Sorry, my thing just had to refresh. So yeah, I like Banchero quite a bit. Not my favorite position overall, but I like him. Robert Williams going to draw the start. I'm not sure how many minutes. So what's his minute ceiling, you think, Kyle?
I would say ceiling's probably 26 minutes. I would get. I mean, I doubt they playing a ton more minutes than that, but I will say it's a little bit up in the air because of the fact that Klingon is also out. So I wouldn't be overly surprised if he plays like 28 minutes, but they still have Jabari Walker and Reith behind him. So I don't see him playing, 30 plus minutes or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a good per minute producer. Not a great match against Orlando, but man, 3,200, it's hard to kind of pass that up, honestly, where you do have a lot of good spend up options. So I like him. I like Prosper. Banchero's certainly interesting in that same game versus Portland at home. You got the Wiggins call, who, again, has been playing really well recently. Outside of that, I just don't love anything. Jalen Johnson, I like a little bit more on FanDuel, but he's certainly viable. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel great about power forward tonight.
Yeah. Kyle, any other names?
No, I think at power forward, it's an interesting question between Robert Williams and Prosper for this value option. I do think, whoever's going to be the most popular of these two is going to be, the popular value option. Obviously difficult to have extreme amount of confidence in either of those guys. I do think the ceiling for Williams is actually, pretty sustainable in terms of if he does play even 22 minutes, I think you can kind of count on at least a 24 point ceiling or so. Like Noto alluded to, always been a pretty good permanent guy. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he does play 25, 26 plus minutes, just because obviously with Donovan Klingon also out. So I think that is going to be a key decision point in lineups between Williams and Prosper. And I think at this point, I'm actually pivoting to Robert Williams over Prosper, especially if the ownership stays where it's at right now, where we have Prosper at 46%. But then in terms of other guys, there's a couple of other names I wanted to throw out there. PJ Washington here. We have him for 34 minutes. He's a guy, if the game's close, he's going to play big minutes, 35, 36 plus minutes, played 36 minutes last game and took 22 shots. Obviously, with a lot of these guys out for Dallas, he's seeing more usage and more rebounding opportunities there. So I like Washington quite a bit as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I believe that takes us to the center spot, Kyle.
Yeah. So center is fairly tricky on DraftKings today because you just have, obviously you have Okongwu, who's center only, unlike on FanDuel. So you're pretty much locking him in. I mean, I guess you don't have to lock him in if you're playing 150 lineups, but I would say that 50% projected ownership, I'd probably want to be, well over that. So him and then Ware as well. It doesn't seem like the public is as interested in Ware today as they were last time out, considering the price has changed significantly. But again, we haven't projected for 32 minutes here in this spot. I mean, I definitely think he has upside for more minutes if the game stays close. And he's kind of also fairly blowout proof because he's a young guy who they'll play deep in games, whether it's a blowout or not. But Noto does bring up a good point about foul trouble there, dealing with Giannis. Unless they put Bam on Giannis and just kind of alternate those guys, I do think that'll be somewhat of a problem there for Ware. But either way, at 5,700, I think both of those guys are really strong options, Okongwu and Ware. So then it gets to a difficult point to where you kind of can't play Jokic as well. So it does come down to for center being a very interesting decision point. We also have Wendell Carter here at 6'3". Sabonis at 10K, I like quite a bit. 2% projected ownership currently. This is a great matchup for him. Denver's allowed 7th most amount of rebounds to centers. They're 8th in terms of assists and 8th in terms of points allowed to that position. So good matchup for Sabonis. I actually bet him for a triple-double over on Scores and Odds. So I do like Sabonis quite a bit, but just a stacked position at center today.
Yeah. You mentioned Ware. I was looking in the 3 games where he's got starters run, he scored over 40 fantasy points. So they bumped the price, but if he's getting 30-plus minutes, they didn't bump it enough. So I'm on board with that. Noto, what do you like at center?
Yeah, so if I'm playing Robert Williams, I'm going to play him at power forward because center is so stacked. I'm going to lock in Okongwu. And then single entry stuff in terms of tournaments, I think I'm playing him with Jokic doing the double center route. That means I probably won't have a lot of wear, which does worry me a little bit. But I think he's, a volatile guy. I could see, him getting in foul trouble or, struggling on the road in this spot. So I'm going Jokic and Okongwu in my single entry builds. But yeah, a lot of good tournament plays at this position. You got Zubac, who's 7,200 in an elite matchup at home against Washington. Vucevic, who I talked about, against the short-handed Warriors front court. Jakob Poeltl, you get you some lower-owned guys, or a lower-owned guy from Toronto against Atlanta. So I think it's a great position. If you're building multiple entries, I think you kind of mix and match a few of these guys.
Okay. Love this question from Maryi Don Yeezy. Says, Noto, what do you think about J-Val on DK? They might need his girth and length versus Zubac.
First of all, girth is only used to describe one thing, and it is not
as
a basketball
soon as I saw
player.
that question, I was like, well, I'm reading that one. I like the theory behind the play. What do you think?
Yeah, the problem for me is just that 5K, I don't know, we don't have it projected for a ton. It's centered so stacked that I wouldn't get there unless I'm building a ton of lineups, which I don't do. Yeah,
that's fair. Okay. Scrolling up, starting off in the RG Discord with some of these QQs, and we've got some random golf. We want Dean to say Noto, Charlie Hoffman or Sam Stevens.
Ooh, what is this for? They're playing right now.
Oh, I have to come. I have a confession. I don't know if you saw this. Wind apparently stopped the round at some point today.
Yeah, they just started back up. Over here sweating my lineup while I'm trying to talk NBA. So, yeah.
It's a little awkward for me to be on a show with you because I don't know if you saw my weather forecast. In fact, don't look. Just don't look. Okay. It's really rare to bust a wind for me. Wind is usually pretty reliable. It's not too common that I say something like wind is not going to be an issue when the weather's fine, and they stop the freaking round for it. So my bad. That's my bad. I don't know what happened there. I'll figure it out. Let's move on to some basketball so that I feel less awkward. Kyle, FanDuel Cash, DeAndre Hunter and PJ Washington, or Jalen Johnson and Prosper?
For Cash, I think I'll take the first set and just avoid Prosper and just have a little bit of two safer options.
Kyle, we got a few Santos questions here. How many minutes would you project for Santos if TDJ is out?
I would guess we'd probably have him in the low 20s. Like I would guess maybe 18 at the lowest and 23, 24 at the highest. So I would say probably 20, 21 is a good range for him. So it wouldn't be bad if TJ Day is out.
Okay. Noto, back to you. A question from Achilles. It's FanDuel Cash. You want Tyler Hero or Jamal Murray?
I'll go Jamal Murray in Cash.
Okay. Shelby says DK tournament. Noto, making your work for it here. A forward at 5,300 or less on DK.
DK. Okay, let me pull it up. 5,300 or less. Any forward?
Yep.
I don't know. I think I would rework my lineup, to be honest with you, because I don't love anyone in that price range.
Is it Grimes?
You can go down to Grimes or play Buddy Hield in that late game. There's just not a lot of great options. I'm one of those guys that hates leaving like $800 on the table if I'm building one lineup. So I would probably rework it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Let's see. Kyle, get a couple questions for you here. DK GPP, Lillard or Fox? And he hit us with a little Fox emoji. Lillard or the Fox?
That's tough. I will go Fox slightly. Again, I like that game environment, especially if it stays close. 242 total in the Denver game.
Okay, great. FanDuel Cash. Kyle, right back to you here. Curry and Prosper or Time Lord and Murray?
Man, that's tough. I guess I'll go with the Murray side just because, again, you can kind of just for Cash, it's just safer to avoid the injury and stuff. And then I think I like Time Lord more than Prosper.
Okay, good stuff. Noto, back to you from the Mad Bomber. DK GPP, Young and Barnes or Giannis and Monk?
Young and Barnes for me. I think they could both get 50 plus.
Okay. Jumping into the YouTube. Here we go. Noto, do you have any interest in Kelly O? 3,700 on DK?
I think he's fine. He's one of those guys that I just don't play a ton of, but it's a great matchup for him. Is he forward eligible on DK? He's not. So I wouldn't play him on DK, but I would play him on FanDuel.
Okay, great. Kyle, if you go two cheap centers instead of Jokic, where are you spending the money? So I guess the question really is, where's your favorite spend up spot, assuming it's not center?
Yeah, other than Jokic, you can go up to Giannis or SG. Those are probably my two favorites. Again, I do like Sabonis, but same question. Obviously, I'm removing him because of the center. So I'll say SG or Giannis.
Okay. Javier says, I saw your golf forecast, Roth. For the first time ever, actually, I used it. Cool. I should know that is probably the best sport to have a weather advantage and maybe my most consistent. Not a good example of it this week, but
so what you just said, it wasn't going to be windy.
Yeah,
I mean that didn't hurt anybody's lineup, so it wasn't like you were like fade the early guys or.
Yeah, no, I don't think I did that. I don't even know where the hell this wind came from. I got to figure it out because that's weird to get 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts when I thought it'd be 15. Let's see, Kyle, DeRozan or Monk on DK?
I will go Monk slightly, but I do also like DeRozan.
Okay. Derek, it's weird calling you Derek. Noto, Javier says Barnes and Hield or Levine and Jaquez on DK. Barnes, Hield, or Levine, Jaquez?
I'll go Barnes, Hield, but wait and see on the Chicago injuries.
Okay. Got another question for you, Noto, from Mel Dog. FanDuel GPP, Grimes and Vooch or Hunter and Gafford?
Grimes and Vooch for me. I really think it's a good spot for Vooch.
Okay. Jackson Carr says, Kyle, DK GPP, by the way, we got about 2-3 minutes until lock. Make sure you get those lineups in and adjusted. DK GPP, Kyle, Aaron Gordon and Kyrie or Schroeder and Boncaro?
That's tough because the Gordon and Schroeder news could change based on the starting lineup. But right now, I'll go the Boncaro side.
Okay, but if
Gordon is somehow starting again, I would prefer that side. And then, yeah, if Curry is out or Schroeder's back to the starting lineup, prefer the Boncaro side pretty easily.
Okay, good stuff. Kyle, on FanDuel, where are you playing Anthony Black? Shooting guard or point guard on FanDuel from Cleveland?
Easier to get him in at shooting guard.
Okay. Derek, any interest in Dort for value on DK?
Yeah, so I think he's certainly playable. You know, he's going to have 30-plus minutes. I think I prefer Grady Dick a little bit more, but certainly no issue with Dort.
Okay, very good. Let's see where we're at. FanDuel GPP, Noto, which king guard would you prefer, Monk or Fox? All right, I got it.
Ooh, that one's tough. I think Monk, but it's close. I like them both. And an appearance from my little guy.
Oh, wait, let me see. Oh, I missed it. I didn't even see it. I missed the cuteness.
Just got his braces
off.
Hey,
there you go.
Looking good, bud. Looking sharp. Let's see here. DK Cash, Kyle, Pirtle, Giannis, or Ware and Jokic?
Ware and Jokic.
Okay. Here we go. FanDuel Cash, Noto. It's kind of a long one here. Powell, Porter Jr. or Murray, Hunter?
Powell, Porter Jr. or who?
Murray and Hunter.
Yeah, second time.
Okay. And then please ask Noto if the grind down can make a return. His articles were goated. Can the grind down make a return?
NBA? Hell no.
That's a strong no. Chinatown says, is windy.com a good site for golf? Is that the one that you use, Noto? Windy.com?
Windfinder, I think.
Windfinder.
Windy's like very similar, I think.
Yeah, I really like Windfinder. I think it shows you just raw model data, so that's good, but it puts it in a very easy to understand way. I think Windfinder is a really good site for that, so check that out. We're seconds until lock. Brian says, Noto, DK GPP, Harden or Trey?
Trey for me.
Okay. Kyle, SGA or drop down to Trey and spend up elsewhere from Anger?
I don't mind. It's tough to answer because it depends on who you're getting if you drop down, but I prefer SGA over Trae Young straight up.
Yeah. Okay. Dean says, Noto, how long did it take you to write the grind down on any given day?
Yeah, so every game was like 30 minutes. So depended on the size of the slate. So like 12 game slates took forever. And then by the time I was done, like half of what I wrote was already pointless. And
yeah,
news is breaking, people are out. Yeah.
Like 10 years ago it was great because there weren't as many late scratches and all that. But it just doesn't have a lot of shelf life these days.
Yeah. Makes sense. A lot of people showing some love, which we appreciate. Also, make sure you show some love with the thumbs up as well. We certainly appreciate the comments. We'll get out of here on a golf one. My guy Bryson DeChambeau or Tyrell Hatton, who I think is he like Irish, Hatton, or am I making that up?
He's
Close.
English, but
It's close.
right? English, yeah.
Okay.
But in
Anyways,
terms of, I don't know what the question's about, but yeah, give me Bryson all day. I like Hatton, but love Bryson.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Okay, hey, I think we have done all the things that we came here to do. Noto, is this going to be? Will there be a return to Crunch Time sometime, or was this just a random one-off? Do you know?
I think I'm every Thursday, Friday now.
Hey, that's awesome. I did not know that. Well, welcome to the crew. Looking forward to working with you more often. For Kyle and for Noto and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.